Okay, let me tell you. Life with my 3-year-old twin boys, Kabir and Karan, it used to feel less like a home and more like the dead center of a hurricane. I'm Divya, and in our big, bustling joint family home in Jaipur, the tantrums were, well, they were nonstop. This is our story, the story of how we finally found the calm in our family's storm. My husband Arun's mother, she meant well, of course, but she was convinced the boys were just plain spoiled and needed way stricter discipline. And her words, they just stung. You know why? Because they were echoing my own deepest, darkest fears. I felt like I was in a battle every single day, and I was losing. Was I failing them? I mean, the tantrums were just constant, over literally anything. A banana that broke in half, the wrong color cup, a sock that just felt weird. It was this relentless wave of screaming and crying, and it just created this thick tension in our home. And through it all, my mother-in-law was absolutely positive that the only answer was a quick scolding, to teach them a lesson. I just felt completely and utterly lost. My mother-in-law would say, be stricter. The parenting books I was reading said, be gentler. My friends were all like, oh, just let them cry it out. I was just drowning in all this conflicting advice. And the whole time, my boys were still crying. The guilt, it was just crushing me. So, this feeling of being so stuck, it led to what I started calling the parents' paradox. Every single time one of the boys had a meltdown, I felt like I was facing this impossible choice. It honestly felt like a trap where every single option was the wrong one. Right? So on one hand, I'm told to be this warm, responsive parent, validate their feelings, be their safe space. But on the other hand, all I heard was, don't you dare give in. They're just manipulating you. You have to hold the line. So which is it? Am I supposed to be comforting a child who's in genuine distress, or am I just caving to the demands of a tiny dictator? My husband Arun and I, we just got desperate. We started doing our own research, looking for an answer that actually made sense. And we found it. Not in some parenting book, but in neuroscience. Yeah, I know. But understanding how a toddler's brain actually works, that was the aha moment that changed absolutely everything for us. Okay, so here's the key thing, the thing that made it all click. Our adult brains, we've got a logical captain in charge. It's called the prefrontal cortex. It can see a big feeling coming, take a deep breath, and think things through. But a toddler's brain, the emotional part, the amygdala, is the captain. And it is all gas, no brakes. The feeling just completely takes over the entire ship. So think of it like this, an emotional thermostat. Yours is fully installed and calibrated. You can cool things down when they get too hot. A toddler's thermostat, it's still being built. It's basically just a few wires hanging out of the wall. They literally do not have the hardware to calm down all on their own. And this realization, it led us to the solution. It wasn't about being permissive, and it wasn't about being authoritarian. There was this third path, something we had never, ever heard of before. It's called co-regulation. It's a really simple idea, but it is so powerful. Since their internal thermostat doesn't work yet, you have to be their external one. You don't try to stop the feeling, you don't punish the feeling, you just lend them your calm, your regulation, until their own storm passes. And wow, this really put everything we used to do into perspective. When we yell stop it, we're basically teaching them that their big emotions are dangerous and need to be hidden. When we send them to their room, we're teaching them that they are all alone with these huge, scary feelings. But when we just stay, we teach them the most important lesson of all. Feelings come and go, and you are always, always safe. So, armed with this whole new understanding, Arun and I sat down and we created a new family plan. It was a completely different way of handling that tantrum tornado. It wasn't about coming up with new punishments. It was about showing up with a new presence. We committed to these 5 steps. And let me tell you, they felt so weird and backwards at first. No more trying to distract them. No more lectures. Just be calm. Name the feeling for them. Wait with them. Figure out what's a need versus a want. And the most important part, always, always repair and reconnect after the storm passed. I will never, ever forget the first time I tried this. Kabir was having a total meltdown over his shoes. And instead of fighting him on it, I just sat down on the floor nearby. It felt so wrong. He was screaming his head off. I just breathed. My mother-in-law was watching, and I could feel her judgment. After 8 minutes, and I swear it felt like an hour, the crying just faded. He climbed into my lap. The storm had passed. I hadn't fixed it, I had just weathered it with him. Now, getting the whole family on board, that was the hardest part. We sat down with Arun's parents and we explained the brain science, the thermostat analogy, the whole shebang. They were skeptical, to say the least. They thought we were just being soft, but to their credit, they adore their grandsons, so they agreed to give our little experiment a chance. And what happened next was just incredible. It wasn't like a switch just flipped overnight. It was this slow, gradual shift. But the volume in our house just started coming down, day by day. I'm not kidding. Within 2 months, the change was undeniable. Those epic 20-minute meltdowns, they became 5-minute upsets. The boys actually started saying things like, "I'm mad," instead of just screaming. They seemed less anxious, less clingy. The constant tension in our home just dissolved. It felt like we could all finally breathe again. But the real turning point, the moment I knew this was really working, was this. After a small upset, Kabir went to his grandmother, his Dottie, and he said, "Dottie, I was having big feelings, but now I'm okay." He had the words. And I saw the look on my mother-in-law's face. It wasn't skepticism anymore. It was wonder. The boys weren't spoiled. They were learning. The biggest lesson we learned through all of this was this. For so long, we had been seeing our kids' feelings as a problem that we needed to fix. This whole journey taught us to just reframe the entire situation. What if their emotions aren't a problem to be solved at all, but a skill to be built? A skill that you don't teach with lectures or punishments, but one that you build side by side, together.